So, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to take a big look at probably one of the best TV movies of the most acclaimed TV series in NBC history. Of course, we're talking about Night Gallery. Now, Night Gallery is a 1969 American made-for-TV anthology supernatural horror film starring Joan Crawford, Roddy McDowall, and Richard Kiley. Directed by Boris Sagal, Steven Spielberg, and Barry Shearer, the film consists of 3 supernatural tales that served as the pilot for the anthology TV series of the same name, which was written and hosted by Rod Serling. The film originally premiered on NBC on November 8, 1969, and in different jurisdictions across the globe. Now, Serling appeared in an and introduced a trilogy of supernatural tales by unveiling patents by artist Jaroslav Jerry Gieber that depicted the stories. The original pilot theme and background music was composed by William Goldenberg. Now, the first part of the movie was a cemetery, the narration by Serling. It goes like this. Good evening and welcome to a private showing of 3 paintings displayed here for the first time. Each is a collector's item in its own way, not because of any special artistic quality, but because each captures on a canvas, suspends in time and space. Our initial offering, a small Gothic item in blacks and greys, a piece of the past known as the family crypt. This one we call simply the cemetery. Offer to you now 6 feet of earth and all that it contains. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Night Gallery. Now, Jeremy Evans in the movie played a selfish young man who murders his wealthy uncle through opening a window because he had emphysema in order to inherit his estate, both much to the detriment of his uncle's loyal butler, Osmond Portafoy. Shortly afterwards, Jeremy noticed that a painting of the family graveyard has changed. And soon after, a coffin, standing upright, appears in the grave. Little by little, the painting depicts the return of his uncle from his burial site, moving closer and closer, or so it seems to Jeremy. Eventually, as someone pounds on the door, he goes mad, grabs the painting of his uncle, and stares to his death. The door opens to reveal Osmond, who, as later revealed, orchestrated the whole thing. An artist friend of his created all the paintings, although it's never explained how he was able to switch out the final ones, with Jeremy there watching. Osmond, if there's no living heirs, he gets everything. Finally, as he looks at the painting of his boss and tells him to rest in peace, he notices the same painting of the family cemetery. Just as before, a fresh grave appears, then a coffin, then Jeremy is in it, and finally comes the same pounding. The door swings open, and the screen fades to black. Barry Artwater plays Mr. Carson, George McReady as William Hendricks, and of course the great Ozzie Davis as Osmond Portafoy. Now, the second segment, starring Joan Crawford, is following the cemetery. Spielberg put together a kind of a gothic revenge called Eyes. Object d'art number 2, according to Serling. A portrait, a subject, Miss Claudia Minoio, a blind queen who reigns in a carpeted penthouse on Fifth Avenue. Imperious, predatory doubt, darkness blacker than blindness. This is her story. Now, Claudia Minolo is a heartless, willfully blind woman who desperately wants to be able to see. A hapless gambler owing money to loan sharks agrees to donate his eyes to her for the grand sum of $9,000, which is about $60,000 in today's money. Her doctor, whom she blackmails in performing the illegal surgery, warns her that her vision will only last for about 11 hours. After the surgery, Claudia sits in her penthouse apartment with all her art and special possessions guarding around her so she can see them the moment her sight is restored. She and by a quirk of fate, there's a blackout seconds later. Thinking Dr. Heatherton has betrayed her, she stumbles down the long flight of stairs to the ground floor, cursing him with every step, and then collapses in an alley. The camera swings above a fence to show people on a nearby street, and the cop explains somehow back in her apartment and sees the sunrise, but panics when her sight quickly begins to fade. Beating on a glass window, the glass cracks, and the scene cuts to black. Now, Tom Bosley plays the unfortunate donator of the eyes, one Sidney Resnick. Barry Byron Moreau with George Packer, and of course the very versatile Joan Crawford as Claudia Menlo. Now, the third segment, and to me the best one, was the escape route. This third and final segment was directed by Barry Shear with the opening narration. And now the final painting. Joseph Strobel, a Nazi war criminal hiding in South America, while a monster wants to be a fisherman. This is his story. Now, Joseph Strobel is a Nazi fugitive, former SS Grubenführer, constantly on the run from the authorities and his nightmares about the past. One day, from imaginary pursuers, he finds himself in a museum where he meets Blum, a survivor of the same concentration camp where Strobel made the decisions about who would live or die. Blum does not initially recognize him, but points out a painting that depicts a man being crucified in a concentration camp and states that a friend of his died that way. Strobel turns away. He is drawn to the painting of a fisherman and imagines himself in the painting. He finds happiness and peace there, fishing and gently drifting along the water. When he returns to the art gallery the next day, Blum recognizes him as a Nazi, and later Strobel kills him to ensure his own anonymity. Once again, Strobel must hide from the authorities. When caught, he tries to bargain for his freedom by offering knowledge on other war criminals, namely Martin Bormann and Annik Müller. He manages to break free of the police, and in a state of desperation he returns to the museum and prays to be allowed in the painting. The corner where the painting hangs is dark. He and disappears. The police arrive in search, but they can't find him. One steps up to the corner with a man from the museum and asks about the fisherman painting. The man explains that it was taken down that day and replaced the one they're looking at, the crucified man. They move away, yet here coming from. Joseph has received his final judgment. Of course, the great Richard Colley played Joseph Strobel, with Sam Jaffe as Blum, Norma Crane in a very interesting performance as Gretchen, a former German who lives in the same apartment building, who plays the conscience of Strobel, and George, Israeli agent. Now, since its original broadcast and later re-airings, Eyes has remained the most popular segment among the three night gallery entries, most notably because it was directed by a then 22-year-old Spielberg, as well as one of the last acting performances by Joan Crawford. Upon learning that the young Crawford reportedly called up Sidney Sheinberg, then vice president of production for Universal, to demand that he be replaced by someone more experienced. Sheinberg taught Crawford of giving Spielberg a chance, and she agreed. Now, prior to production, Crawford met with Spielberg at an LA apartment. Upon arrival, Spielberg was wearing a mask over her eyes as she was demonstrating she'd been practicing maneuvering him around a room like a blind person. The Eyes segment was filmed in 9 days, February 13th and 12th and 69, at Universal Studios, and despite early reservations, Crawford and Spielberg got along famously, keeping her in touch until her death some 7 years later. Now, during the filming, Crawford and her co-star Barry Sullivan had difficulty reciting their lines, mainly due to the verbosity of the dialogue, and Spielberg eventually placed cue cards around the. The actress later recalled her experience on Night Gallery to a reporter, saying that although she adored Rod Serling and his writing, his dialogue was the hardest to remember. There's a rhythm to his words, and we change one of them. The rhythm is off, and you can't remember. Now, it was on November 23, 2001, KL Studio Classics, under license from Universal, released a pilot film as part of Night Gallery, the complete first season on high-def Blu-ray for the first time. Now, the original DVD release was in August of 2004. Now, the pilot film was also released on VHS 92 as part of Universal's The Premiere Collection. Both releases have been long out of print, and they go for quite a premium on eBay. Now, again, the Joan Crawford part, to me, it left me cold, but that's just me. I don't like Joan Crawford as an actress. And as a as a person of Jewish background, I think the escape route, again, should have been a long form movie with the various flashbacks, and flash forwards are quite interesting and it comes together. Now, especially plot of the three goes like this. People cannot escape their past. They can try to manipulate their past towards the future. They can try to manipulate other people towards their future, or they will be manipulated in the current day towards the future. So it's almost like three parts of the same theme. Can you escape your past? Can you change your past by changing your future? Hard to tell. But it really, really was quite scary when Richard Colley went into the crucifix painting, where basically there was a mini shot of very scary. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I give the movie 4 stars out of 5. Again, 1960s, late 60s, early 1970s production, not the best. But again, the music, the writing, and the acting is first rate. Don't know why it wasn't nominated for an Emmy, but it was weird back then because NBC was by the Academy on several occasions, maybe because of the ongoing controversy with the rejigged Emmys over the years. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's the latest of our Night Gallery podcast. If you like what we're doing here, and check our archive for the other Night Gallery reviews of episodes and the show, let us know, subscribe or share what you think, and requests for the channel, especially Night Gallery, are always appreciated and always considered. Thanks for listening. Bye.